How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Where are you located at?
Um, at the moment, I'm transitioning back to Atlanta. I
Okay.
moved. I was living in South Florida near Boca Raton, and I was there for the past 5 years. And I moved there in 2015, and I was finishing up my undergrad, and like I finished up in 2018, and like I've been teaching there, and then COVID happened, and I was furloughed from one of the companies I was working for the end of like the beginning of March, I think, or on the March 17th
Oh,
until like
okay.
the end of June. So I ended up coming up here. I thought it was a perfect time to come and see family because they're all in Atlanta.
Hmm.
And I came up here, and I ended up just staying longer than I was expecting to. And it's nice to, I was away for 5 years, and it's nice to be back here with family. And I like with COVID and everything kind of being up in the air and upside down, especially in Florida and in Georgia, I guess
Right.
too. But I thought that it was like a good time to kind of transition back. And the universe was just kind of pulling me back here, to be with family. So I didn't really, I fought it for a little bit, and then I just accepted it. I guess like
I
how
think
we all have, right?
right. I think I was gonna say that I think that's the theme for 2020 is
Yeah.
if you struggle for too much and it's too painful, so you just go with the flow of things, and all the right things seem to happen. So
Yeah.
uh, you gotta
Yeah.
gotta work with it. Gotta work with it. I
Yeah.
love the work that you produce,
Thank
and
you.
it's so beautiful, and it has such a positive energy to it,
Thank you.
and and it's so dramatic as well. Like it's everything about it is just like it just pulls your attention towards it. Can you tell me about the
Mhm.
piece that you have in the Existimos exhibition, and what the piece is about for you, and what you hope that people are taking from this too?
Yeah, I would love to. Thank you. You're so kind and sweet. I appreciate it. Yeah, I when I started creating these pieces, it was mainly to um, just let out everything that I had repressed, and like everything that, like my experiences that I've gone through, and experiences that other family members or people that I love have gone through, and just holding all that in and just kind of finding an outlet for it. And when I started creating work, I started off as a painter, and well, I drew all the time. And when I started doing my undergrad, I focused more on painting. And a lot of the paintings that I was working on, I love my paintings. It just there was just something that I wasn't able to really achieve through my work as a painter, and that was to show like that tension and that energy that you were just talking about. And so like it showed the tension, but it didn't really show like the energy kind of reverberating from the piece itself.
Okay.
And as I moved towards my master's, after I finished my undergrad, I went like in between like 4 or 5 years. And my goal for what I proposed for my master's was to basically take all the elements and everything that I've learned from my paintings and turn them into three-dimensional spaces, and have these spaces be a part of like an environment that's all inclusive, that anyone
Hmm.
can enter, anyone can be a part of, and that no one is really shut out of it. And so as I was starting to create and develop this work, and making these environments, that was a struggle in its own too, because I was like, okay, well, I want to show this tension with my installations and the environments that I'm creating, but without the performative act within that space. I
Hmm.
guess without me ritualizing the space, it was really hard. So I had to find a way to kind of like marry installation, sculpture, and performance into one piece. And the piece, I actually have it behind me, but
Yes.
the piece that I have, the piece that is in the show, I, like I went from really struggling to find a title for it. I didn't really, and that's my struggle with all my work. It's hard for me to find a title for it. But, like I, just kind of stuck with Sin Titulo, and I capitalized Sin, and I wanted to emphasize that because, like, of course, Sin and Sin is, Sin Titulo is, of course, without title or untitled, and Sin itself is, or sin is a sin, and it was a way for me to kind of tie in my religious upbringing and, with the ritual, like, performative aspect of my work and my practice. So, like, in creating these spaces, I wanted to show all that tension and everything that is a part of my work and just have it kind of live within the photographs. And the photographs.
What is the tension that you're talking about? Is the tension about the materials? Is the tension about the concept of the piece, like cultural ideals, or can you expand on the ideal of tension a little bit?
Yeah, of course. I guess when I refer to tension, it's all of the above. A lot of the tension that I want to create is like the actual physical tension that I use to create these pieces, because that itself is, I feel like all of us as artists, I feel like we all imbue our pieces with our energy, and it becomes a part of us. It is a part of us, and that we can share. So these installations and showing like tension through that, like the way it's created, was really important for me. But also, like, I, like, as far as tension goes, it was really hard for me as a queer to, kind of accept all the parts of myself and accept and then really embrace that complexity of, like our bodies, like as a queer, as, like a person of color, being Latin, being religious, and everything that ties into that. And, so there's, when I say tension, I of course mean that energy, but also, I guess mostly like what I've kind of struggled with within myself as far as accepting all the parts of my identity.
Sure. Yeah. And what, you grew up in the Atlanta area then, or?
I did. I was born in Queens, and I was only there for a few years, and then, but I was raised in the South. I was raised in Atlanta, and so I've been here most of my life. And I moved in 2015 and I was in Florida up until now. So yeah, I'm Southern.
Well, I was just curious because I think you mentioned Peruvian ancestry in your website, and there's this ideal in the way that you constructed these things. And as I like look at many of your images, there feels like this sort of ritual to it. So I was wondering where the ritual was based, if it was like a religious ritual or like cultural ritual that you're pulling from different sources. How is ritual a part of your work?
Yeah, so for me, the ritual is just showing the ritual is really important, because it literally like just ties everything together with energy, the physical act of making it, the residue of the photograph that's left over, everything. And ritual for me is, like like I am Catholic, and, but we also, we go through curanderos, and, we go through shamans, and, and that's really common, like, of course, that's common amongst the Latin community. And, so like part of me knows that, like, going into anything, like whether it's my work or just any interview or anything, I know that I'm putting myself in a real vulnerable spot talking about my religion. But it's showing that act, and not having it so hush hush, because it was just really important for me to accept on my own, was really important for me to convey in the work that I do. So the ritual, whenever I think of, the ritual in my work, like I always see my work as transitional pieces. I see them as always transforming and evolving, and all my work is made, it's all paper. Like, all that is just a ton of paper. And yeah, and I set them up, and
I thought it was fabric.
Yeah, no, it's all paper. Yeah.
Wow.
Get this. So that paper, it's called super tough. it's like a paper poly drop cloth, and I thought that was perfect. You know, so when I found that material, I just fell in love with it because it did everything that I wanted it to do. And you know, like I learned a lot from it. But you know, in showing the ritual and just creating these spaces, I always saw them as I see it as the body kind of in transition and transforming. So whenever you think of healers or curanderos or shamans, you know, you always think of going in with either questions or something that you want to resolve, and then coming out of there hoping that they tap into whatever I guess whatever I guess unsettled with or trying to resolve, you know.
Sure.
So, and for us, you know, like trying to make that language kind of universal to where everybody can relate to it is I came, you know, like across my research, fibrosis, you know, our bodies heals itself in knots at times, and depending on the certain cut or the direction of the cut, you know, it creates our cuts and our scars are unique, and the body, as it heals itself in knots. So I became extremely obsessed with that idea of our body kind of like healing and always in transition. And I wanted to focus my installations around that. You know, I wanted to focus my installations on, okay, so like when we go to a healer or a shaman, or just when we're healing in general, what does the body itself look like within ourselves spiritually as it's transforming and transitioning and evolving? And for me, that was really, really important to show in my work. And yeah, so that's that's the ritual part of it.
Well, I mean, it's quite beautiful. I didn't realize it was paper. I honestly thought it was a fabric that had been deconstructed. So it's really interesting to hear that it's paper. And I love the way that you use the light with the paper as well. I mean, because it does feel like in a way that you're trying to pull our attention into specific elements in the material, the transparency, the bulk of it, the texture is really rich too. I'm a paper artist myself, so
Yeah.
that's why when I first saw it, oh, it's paper even. Wow. Yeah. And are the photos, are they documentations of performances, or are they staged as separate art objects themselves?
Yeah, so the photographs, so they are different stills of the actual performance. And well, that's another hard one. I have to like kind of explain that one too, because like my whole process so like as I was telling you, like as a painter, you know, like I was looking to kind of project that energy and to project that like the fluttering effect that, you know, like of the ritual. And for me as a painter, I was never able to achieve that. So that's when I moved into photography. And so through photography, I was able to achieve like that effect of movement, you know, without physically like doing a performance, you know. And as I was posing for these pieces and as I was making these objects for these pieces, I set up my timer for like around 9 shots, 9 frames at a time. And I would set them up for like 9 to 10 seconds to 12, 20, whatever, depending on like how I needed to pose, or if I had to contort my body in a certain way, or if I had to wrap myself with something. And so like I would set my timer for 9 shots at a time. And then I would go back to my camera and kind of look at them just to kind of see like what images came out of it, because like you said, they're dramatic and I'm dramatic, so like I had to show that. And so as I was kind of clicking through my pieces and the more I shot, it like when I clicked on them in a row and like in like one right after the other, I noticed that it was like almost became a performance in itself. Like posing 9 times repeatedly over and over and over again, clicking through all those pieces, I was making a performance without even knowing it. You know, like I was like literally dancing in my installation. And so I paused for a second and I started making the poses even more dramatic, and I wanted to make more of like a actual performance, so that I won't just walk away with the stills itself. And I, part of me, you know, like people always tell me, you know, like, why don't you just do the performance and then pull stills from that? And, but, you know, like the quality, of course, isn't the same when you
Right.
pull certain images and print them. So for me, like, I have to get those dramatic shots, and I have to, I, I have to show
I,
that. Yeah. So it
well, and
just helped me.
I can imagine, I mean, I'm assuming you weren't a performance major, like you haven't like had tons of training and things too, but like just the act of constructing the scenery, the stage for this, and then interacting with it to take the photos almost creates like a muscle memory, so that when
Yeah.
you actually do the performance, it flows more naturally. You're not conceiving the space, you know, new. You've actually experienced every bit of that space.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah. No,
that's
that's
my
perfect.
1 cent read.
Yeah. No, and that's perfect. And it became it. So, you know, like, for me as an artist, I couldn't just be one thing. I had to like really dabble in a few things just to get all these ideas across, you know. And through painting, through photography, through sculpture, installation, performance, um, I I had to figure out a way to marry all those things, and it became really important to me, you know, because one thing it just wasn't enough for me. I had to like kind of, I had the time and to make sense out of them, you know. And
Sure.
these spaces have, I love that I can consider that I am an installation artist, because part of it is, and as a queer, we have to reclaim our space and our power. And a lot of it is, you know, like me ritualizing in a space and reclaiming it and
Sure.
offering it to everyone, you know. So that's, yeah, it became really important for me. So it was a goal, a struggle.
Yeah, I mean, I have to tell you, it's refreshing to talk to you and to hear that the things that I see in the work are really a clear transition or translation of your intent, because it works really well. Like
Thank you.
no misconception at all. I know you're in a moment of transition as well.
Mhm.
Are you able to work now? Are there projects that you're gearing up for, that you're working through?
I'm I'm working on it. It's been oh my God, it's been a it's been kind of a hard transition. Like, I love my family and I'm really excited to be back, and but it's like the physical act of moving from a different state, even though it's only like 9 hours away, it's
Right.
still packing up like 5 years of my life, and just moving randomly without like, all this was really unexpected, and I
Right.
know everyone is feeling that. So it just became really hard for me to, and of course, like, once I move everything and once I have that out of my head, I think I'll be able to like really start creating again. But for now, I've just been, you know, like, I've just been basically proposing my work, and, you know, just trying to find little things that I can kind of keep myself occupied with. But for me right now, I've spent most of my time just like trying to get back to where I'm just kind of leveled and emotionally, kind of like, in every way, like emotionally, physically, mentally, everything, you know. So
Right.
yeah, I wish I can show you more pieces, but yeah, at the moment,
Well,
I don't have.
I asked the question because you know, everybody, what's happening, and it happened in the last 5-6 months, has changed a lot of things for a lot of people. So you know, I mean, you know, it's a hiccup. You know, materials are changing, spaces
Yeah.
that we can work in, can't work in, traveling, things like that. But I mean, I want you to know that you're always welcome to come to the residency here in Mexico City. You know, I'd love to
Oh,
be able to work with you to produce a
yeah.
project in a space here. And one of the things that, you know, I look at your work, and it's so easy for me to imagine in one of these, you know, colonial torn down spaces, you know,
Hmm.
the spaces that I love to use for exhibitions and projects and things, which there are so many around here. You know, it'd be great to like see you realize that in one of those kinds of spaces as well. I think your work would be
Yeah.
very, very well received here. So
Yeah, and I believe me, I would love to.
Yeah.
I want to. I definitely want
Well,
to. So
and we'll get there.
okay.
It's funny.
Not like
I've
now.
had like
I want to.
right now. Yes, I know. I know. I've had this conversation like 4 or 5 times with different people today. We're all just like, you know, 21, 22. Like, what is that? You know, like, what are these concepts of time? But you know, it's. But I mean, we're here, and you know, and so I do look forward to that day when we can do that. And I'm just very excited to have you in the show. Your work is very, very beautiful, and so appreciate your honesty and sharing your story with us. So
Thank you so much. Yeah, you're amazing, and thank you so much for having me. Every artist that I've either talked to through Instagram or I've seen their work, and everyone just seems extremely sincere. You've been incredibly, you've just been incredible. You know, like you've been you know, open arms and accepting of all of us, and creating a space for all of us too. And that's really important to me. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. That's really important to hear. You know, based on my own experiences through the years, you know, I do try to treat people the way that I would like to be treated. So I hopefully I can live up to that. So thank you. You have a wonderful, wonderful day, and please stay safe.
Yeah, I will. You too. I'm glad you're feeling better too. And please stay safe. Yeah, and I absolutely would love to hear more about the residency. So yeah, if we can chat another time, it'd be awesome.
Yeah,
all right.
I'll be in contact with you. I have something else in mind for you as well. So I'll talk to you soon. So
yay. All right, bye. You take care.
Bye.
Bye.